It's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America, we are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning. All right, one more audio cut I wanted to play from Bill Maher. We didn't get a chance to play it at the last part of last hour, but the reason it's important is we got a couple of polls here. There's one poll saying that almost half of Democrats say a third party is necessary, and when I listened to Paul Begala here on with Wesley Hunt, on Bill Maher, and I just shook my head. It's like they don't have anything because they use the same discredited argument over and over and over and over again. And this is on, Trump and the military, because last week I think it was being promoted by Republicans that, recruitment is going through the roof. Recruitment's been great, and it started being great November, December, January of last year. Well, Begala brings up, again, the suckers and losers hoax that never happened.
Yeah.
Never happened. They never found a witness who said it happened. In fact, I think it was John Bolton who said it didn't happen, right?
Right, yeah.
John Bolton. Yeah. He's not really a fan of Trump.
Well, and he had left the Trump, he was no longer national security advisor for Trump by the time that whole thing happened. So there was no reason for him to defend Trump on that.
Yeah, here it is, just a little back and forth.
All right.
Then he said troops are suckers and losers and are war dead. Yes, he did. He was going to World War I cemetery. My grandfather fought in World War I and was wounded in Europe for this country.
That's been proven to be false.
And I honor your sir. Trump pisses on our veterans and our military.
If that is the case, December, January, and February, we've seen the highest recruiting numbers for the military than we've seen in years. Why is that the case? You could say that all you want, but I am somebody that has served, and the people that are in my ranks overwhelmingly look at President Trump and they say, if I really want somebody that's going to defend us and put us in harm's way, if necessary, I would absolutely take President Trump over Joe Biden.
There you go. But he brings up something that never happened.
Yeah. No, they have to. They quite often do that. Look, some of them are still telling the Charlottesville lie.
Now, I have particular feelings on Begala because when I first came here to Texas, a little over 25 years ago, and worked at WBAP here in Fort Worth, Dallas, I went in 2000, because I started in May of 2000. By July of 2000, I went to the Republican National Convention in Philadelphia. And Paul Begala was there, and he was my first guest. Now, I was new to the radio station. And I can't remember why, but we started talking about the school lunch program. He didn't even know how it worked. And he was using the same animation there as he was with Wesley Hunt. If I just talk louder and I talk more authoritatively, people will believe it. And I got him to. I got him. He didn't know how the school lunch program worked. He had no idea, and he couldn't argue it. And then went, well. I remember I got more response to that being the new guy than almost anything I did while being a local talk show host.
Yeah.
Wow, you really got him.
Right.
So I'm not surprised because he has gone, I've seen him because it happened to me. He was not prepared for the discussion that we were having that day. He thought he could blow BS by me. Doing the same with Wesley Clark. Wesley Clark should have stopped him, though. I think he just said, stop it.
Yeah.
That didn't happen.
Yeah.
Stop it. Use another example because the public knows it's BS. Young men and women know it's BS. That's why, by record numbers, well, I don't know if it's record numbers, but the recruiting numbers compared to Biden are surging under his leadership. One of the reasons is young people hear you continually lie about something over and over again, and they say, wait a minute, Trump's fine, you're not. That's it.
Yep. Well, it's, again, you have to start on that, but they have to start on this lie. When they start on that lie, it's one of the, I don't know, it's like the word Hitler. As soon as I hear it, I'm like, okay, bye. And they're using the old lies over and over again. Charlottesville, they still use Charlottesville every once in a while. They lie. The good thing is that, well, that's all they've got, and it's not working.
Well, in the latest polling, nearly half of Democratic voters say a third political party is necessary in the United States. Said Kevin Madden, senior partner at Penta Group. The appetite for third parties always rises along with the domestic partisanship and victory versus losses. Parties that are out of power have two natural reactions. One being an internal frustration with its own party's leadership, and the second being a search for alternatives. In a similar vein, Georgetown University professor Michael Kazin told Newsweek Democrats are now probably more in favor of a third party because they are unhappy with the current leaders of their party. Third parties never last long in national politics, but have been important in deciding elections at different times in the past. Newsweek has reached out to Democratic National Committee members for comments via email. They had not received it by the time that they printed this story up. So what is the – let me just see what the numbers are here. 46% of over 3,000 U.S. adults believe a third party is necessary in the U.S. Along political lines, 47% of Democrats supported a third party. 35% of Republicans did. The poll comes as voters' disapproval of Democratic members in Congress has increased since February. A recent poll of registered voters nationwide conducted June 5th and June 9th, 70% of participants said they disapprove of how the Democrats are handling their jobs in Congress, while 21% approve. Among Democrats, 53% disapprove of Democrats, 41% approve. Don't ask the other party. Just 9% of Republicans approve of the Democrats' performance. 84% disapprove.
Okay, I want to talk to the 9%. How did it get to 9%?
Quinnipiac University poll in February found 68% of participants disapproved of congressional Democrats and 52% disapproval of congressional Republicans. There you go. I love this. Several high-profile Democrats have either switched parties or identified as independent, with former White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre announcing her departure from the party in June.
Uh-huh. All right.
Well, again, what does the party nowhere in the article does it talk about what the party should stand for. Just that Democrats need new leaders.
And
I have never seen a topic that has had this much press and nobody gets to the actual point.
Yeah.
And when you actually get
that's a great point.
And
it's like it's thrown into nothing land, right?
It's like, well, they want a third political party. Why? They like the leaders. Why? Get to the issues. What are the issues that you need to promote? Do you need new leaders or do you need new issues? What is it? Are you still going to try to sell these particular issues, or should they switch? You and I looked at what Democrats were thinking, and even Democrats. The Democrats, they said, well, they think they ought to focus more on economic issues. What are the economic issues? Give me stuff.
Well, it's
give me stuff, tax the rich. It's
what
like
do you want them to do? What are you asking them to do?
Well, it got so bad that when the majority of Democrats and Democrat-leaning Republicans decided, let's form a political party. They called it No Labels and actually said, we're not going to jump on the issues because if we jump on the issues, we'll turn some people off. Well, then go form a damn punk band. What are you in politics for? Politics is all about the issues, and you're saying we're going to form a political party, but we're going to ignore the issues in order to bring people aboard. And then we'll sucker them with the issues that they'll hate, and they'll all leave. Well, they all failed. No Labels. Are they around anymore? Is No Labels still here?
I don't know. I can't find them in the phone book.
They got no labels. You can't find them anywhere. Who are these No Label people?
Well, what was even their website? Because I'm pretty sure NoLabels.com belongs to Office Depot. So
I had a friend of mine that wrote a lot of his own songs.
Uh-huh.
And for years, I always wondered, I go, well, what's the name of the song? Because it's called Untitled. Well, that's the name of the song.
That's the name of the song.
And I didn't know it for a couple of years.
Right.
I go, why does the critic say, well, this song that's untitled? Well, then I'm not sure what it is.
Well,
then
it's like the guys in Bare Naked Ladies. They were like, look, you put on a marquee, Bare Naked Ladies, you're going to get a lot of people showing up. It's going to be all guys, but at least people will show up to the show. Yeah. So the No Labels party. Remember, they wouldn't even let people know what they were talking about in their meetings?
Yes.
And they didn't want to talk about what they wanted to promote because they said then people will try and put labels on it. And we're No Labels.
I wanted to call wanted to call it the acid party because it made no sense. It's like, is everybody high?
You know what this is? It's that weird, not that one, but all the weird episodes of Star Trek. We are the No Labels party. What do you stand for? We can't tell you, then you would put a label on us. Yeah, but Spock, I have to know why they don't have labels.
Well, then again, you and I were always the ones that analyzed Star Trek, where people wrote to us and said, for God's sakes, guys, it's science fiction. Let it go. But
no, we can't. Sorry.
But we couldn't let it go when it was when Stark got to the point of saying, well, no, we don't. There is no money in a system here because everybody basically works because they work for the betterment of the, what were they called? Not the Force. What was it called?
The Thing.
The Thing. No. What was it called? Not the Prime Directive. What do they call the whole thing? The everybody that was united in the universe. I forgot. Not the Collective. Not the Borg. I can't think of it.
The Bodlego.
Yeah, that's it. But you and I and they were saying that, like, really there is no money, and we said, well, of course there has to be money. There has to be, whether it's digital or whatever,
because there can't be rank without money.
Right. Well, everything, and I never forget, we analyzed it one day, and somebody wrote and they said, guys, get a life. But it was an important thing because we both noticed it immediately and went, wait a minute, you can't do that. Everything always will have value. You can't do anything.
Right.
You know, that's one of the things that they talked about one time, capitalism versus other forms of government. That capitalism gives a value to everything.
Right.
And that organizes a society much better when everything has a value to it.
Yeah.
Everything eventually has a value. Everything has a value.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no way you can stop that.
Yeah.
And they were trying to in the Star Trek. Okay. All right.
Right.
We had enough of that?
Yeah, I'm just wondering why Scotty didn't quit when he found out about that whole. It was later on. What was it? Star Trek: New Generation when they got to that point of not paying anybody. That's why Whoopi kept working there.
So I'm going through the channels the other day, and it's the first original Star Trek.
Oh.
And I had to watch it. It's where Scotty outdrinks the alien.
Well, but
he's trying to get the alien drunk.
Scotty can outdrink anybody. Yeah.
I love that episode. I don't even know what it's about.
Right.
Except that Scotty outdrank the alien.
Right.
And then he started crying. He brought out his last bottle, his most valuable bottle of alcohol. But the captain had told him, you got to incapacitate this alien.
Right.
And so he did with the alcohol, and he starts going, oh, this is mine. He's like crying. Here we go.
I love it. I love it.
866-90 Red Eye.
This morning's USDA Farm Report is brought to you by House Products. Tested, trusted, guaranteed since 1920.
Regarding USDA's June beef production and steer price forecast,
beef supply is extremely tight. Prices continue to set new records.
World Agricultural Outlook Board Chair Mark Jekanowski looks at projected beef production changes.
For 2025, we adjusted our beef production forecast down by 70 million pounds, reflecting lower cow slaughter, primarily offsetting continued higher weights. 2026, we raised our production forecast a bit, about 140 million pounds, kind of reflecting higher placements in the second half of this year, but still year over year, we're looking at about a little over 1 billion pound reduction in beef production.
Steer price impacts from beef production adjustments include a $7 increase in 2025 forecast from the previous month and a $5.75 month-over-month rise the following year, with next year's projected price at $228.50 a hundredweight. I'm Rod Bain reporting for the U.S. Department of Agriculture in Washington, D.C.
This report brought to you by Cenex Fuels and Lubes.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Thanks so much for being here as always. I did see a poll that really I found was fascinating, and it's where it's funny. The majority of Americans now want America to be a leader in the world.
Yeah.
I found that pretty amazing. It's moved like 20 points in the last few years, where Americans now. I had the story here. I just the window disappeared on me, and I'm scanning for it right now. If I can't find it, we'll do it here at the bottom of the hour. But it's like, whoa, that really caught my eye. I was like, with all the talk about America, not being the world's. How many times have we heard that? We've been in talk radio a long time. America shouldn't be the world's policeman.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
No, that's been going on for a long time. But, was there, again, if you think about the 4 years of Biden, massive, massive amounts of people coming here across the border, and do you wear down the American people with this, hey, we're no better than, we're going to go on the apology tour and we need to be a sovereign nation, protect our borders, and also we need to be strong on national defense, and all of that is common sense.
Americans found to have increasing appetite for active U.S. global leadership led by MAGA Republicans. Wow. Support for U.S. leadership in world affairs jumps over 20% in less than 2 years. Nearly two-thirds of Americans support increased engagement in international affairs, according to a newly released annual summer survey from the Ronald Reagan Presidential Foundation and Institute. The survey conducted by the polling firm Beacon Research and Shaw Company Research marks the third year that the Institute has conducted a summer survey asking Americans about foreign policy. We'll get to more of this coming up next.
You're listening to Red Eye Radio from the Uniden America Studios.
And he is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Download our Red Eye Radio app today, and you can listen when and where you choose. So nearly 2/3 of Americans, Eric, according to this latest survey, support increased engagement in international affairs. The trend of Americans leaning towards international engagement as opposed to isolationism has been growing across both parties.
Wow.
It found that 64% of Americans overall favor the United States taking a leadership role in international affairs, which is up more than 20% since 2023. Wow. And as like I said, grown support across both parties. Even the America First MAGA wing of the Republican Party, which leads the way with 73% support for greater international involvement, according to a new survey. Now, is the devil in the details there?
Oh, yeah.
Meanwhile,
Right.
Meanwhile, 69% of Republicans, so people that call themselves MAGA Republicans, 73% support greater international involvement, leadership involvement for the United States in international areas. 69% of Republicans support the idea. 65% of Democrats, it found.
Well, but these are now very broad terms.
Yeah, they are.
Global leadership. What does that mean? In terms of what? Because within the MAGA group, bomb Iran. No. Bomb Iran. Yes. Again, it's, when you ask that question, is the devil in the details? The answer is
Yeah.
Yeah. And it gets really tricky because you're going to have to go issue by issue.
Well, I saw the other day because it was like, do you support, and I'm doing this from memory, so I don't have the exact numbers. Do you support a negotiated settlement instead of attacking their nuclear sites? Well, yeah, who doesn't?
Well, yeah, right.
Who does? It's whether you can get there, and
now, and it's also gets down
get there.
It gets down to also the enforcement of the settlement itself, and what would happen in and what you can trust beyond that.
Right? Because you'd have to have. That's why we couldn't be pollsters, because if you're going to do it accurately, you hit a point there. You would have to say it's not, do you prefer a negotiated settlement over attacking Iran? It would be, do you support a negotiated settlement that would allow Iran to develop a nuclear weapon?
Right.
Do you want a negotiated settlement that would guarantee to Americans that they wouldn't get a nuclear bomb?
Right.
And if you can't get a guaranteed settlement, then would you support attacking their nuclear sites? That's really the only way to ask the question, right?
Yeah.
Maybe in a little different form, but you
Well,
have to have all of those
There's
variables
qualifiers
in there.
Yeah,
Qualifiers, yeah.
There are too many qualifiers, in fact, for everything. And again, when you talk global leadership, okay, well.
Is that so much that America wants to be the police officer, which would include boys and girls? You had to be paying attention to yesterday's news in order to understand that.
Yeah, Adam Schiff.
Would
Yeah.
Is that a reflection on the country being a lot less isolationist, or is it just a result of people being so disappointed at Biden's lack of leadership in the world and the things he did, and even Obama, and the lack of, when looking back, the lack of leadership, the Iran deal, that was a horrible deal. By the way, I saw somebody, I got to find that audio. If I don't find it today, I'll find it tomorrow. The audio of the woman arguing with Scott Jennings about that. Well, we had a deal that wouldn't work. They would have been able to get the bomb, but
Right.
it was a deal.
It says deal on the top.
Right,
I know.
it says-
I know it's a deal because it says deal on it.
Yeah, but it wasn't a deal. It was a deal that wasn't a deal. And then at that point, you can hear people go click, click, click. I don't want to deal with this anymore.
Exactly.
Because it doesn't
I'm going
make
to go
any
deal
sense.
with something else. Yeah.
But is it because I don't think that all of a sudden the American public said we want to be involved in everything and have our military everywhere. I don't believe that at all.
No.
I believe that probably the majority of people view how Trump is handling this right now with a great deal of caution and not wanting ground troops in, not wanting a world war, but in essence using our technology to destroy the ability of Iran to have a nuclear program. And who knows? I don't know inside the government whether they want, even though there is, was it MIGA? You saw that yesterday.
Yeah, MIGA, make Iran great again.
Make Iran great again, which it was all over. He's hinting on regime change. Well, if he's out of there, we'd have MIGA, make Iran great again.
Exactly.
Oh, my God. Geez. My question for, if I was a liberal reporter, my question for Trump today, if I saw him.
Yeah.
So you've come up with Make America Great Again, and now you've come up with Make Iran Great Again. Yeah. You haven't come up with Make California Great Again. So do you have higher hopes that you can make Iran great again before California?
Yes. Sorry, that was just a reflex. Because I think it would be true. It is the truth. Oh, by far. I could hear him saying, that's a stupid question.
That's a stupid question. Next.
Of course.
Now, the disappointing thing is there can't be a MIGA make Illinois great again because I's already been taken.
Right. Yeah. No, it can't work. Can't work.
But 73% of registered voters questioned in a recent Fox News national survey said they think Iran poses a real security threat to the U.S. The problem is they ask general questions, and the devil's always in the details. It's always in the minutia of, okay, what are you going to do, as we always, as we know.
Sure. Well, back to, like the Democrats and, what they're going to do with the future of the party. Okay, what do you want them to do when they talk in these generalities? Well, okay, to do what? All right, so when you say, if you're a respondent, this is why, again, if we were pollsters, we'd go broke in the first 10 minutes. Because
too many qualifiers.
There's too many qualifiers. It would be way too expensive. You know what I mean? It's just, there's no way because, it's going to be Eric and Gary in a room on the phone with respondents. Okay, come on, you can do it. Third branch of government, come on.
Well, we would have
been 30 minutes now.
We would have we asked these people about this. We asked people who knew what the three branches of government are, whether they believe the right decision was made on the separation of powers argument through the Supreme Court. We also asked, and this is a much less credible survey, those who had no idea what the three branches of government are.
Well, 40% of them named one of the branches as Twitter.
We asked those who did not know the three branches of government about the Supreme Court separation of powers argument, and 98% of them said, I don't know.
And two of them asked, is the Supreme Court the one with sour cream and extra hot sauce? I mean, it's maddening because you really do. You have to get in today's world. You got to get in the mindset of, first of all, the qualifiers of what people know, how knowledgeable they are, so that then you can measure the credibility of their opinion.
If I was a pollster,
no offense, but some people, quite frankly, shouldn't be making opinions.
if I was a pollster, I'd ask dumb questions.
Yeah, like,
do you think the United States should have a president, a king, a supreme leader or a Supreme Court? And I know some of you go, that didn't make any sense.
Yeah.
I know that's the point.
Should Sacramento have a king? We referred to Gavin Newsom as the Sacramento king.
Hey, I didn't hear any of the king stuff yesterday. Did you?
No.
I didn't hear any king stuff.
No, I didn't either.
Wow.
No.
Now, are they still doing their big July? Isn't there another No Kings thing on July 4th?
I think so. And Bernie was in town. He was down the road. He was in Fort Worth yesterday. I saw locally on his what is it? No Oligarchy tour.
Was he in
with Beto? Actually,
was he in my district?
In Fort Worth.
Was Jasmine Crockett with him?
I don't know. Maybe Beto was. I just saw a little blurb on it on the local coverage. WFAA.
He's still around. I don't mean Bernie.
Beto.
He's still around.
Yeah, I know. I don't know why.
Every time
I guess because he's from Texas, that's the only one Bernie could find.
Every time I think of him, Beto especially, I go back to Office Space when they're in the meeting with the Bobs.
Oh, yeah.
And they're trying to figure out, Lumberg's in there with the Bobs. They're trying to figure out, who to get rid of. Mm-hmm. And I just could imagine it going, okay, we've got this one here, Beto.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, he's useless.
Mm-hmm.
Remember when they said that about what was the guy's name, the Tom Spakowski or whatever the guy? Remember he was the guy that got injured and won the lawsuit. He was in the wheelchair.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes, maybe someday you can be lucky and this can happen to you. And he's in the wheelchair with broken arms, broken legs, but he's won like $10 million in the lawsuit.
Yeah.
But his dream was also to do nothing, remember?
Yeah, right.
Isn't he the one that says you've got to do, like the guy who made the pet rock? That was it.
Mm.
He made $1 million. I want to say, though, that really, as an old guy, that got to me in Office Space.
What?
When he said, because that's all you heard back then when the pet rock came out. He made $1 million.
No, the entire story was about how genius it was to just start selling rocks as pets.
Yeah.
And the fact that people would buy them.
Yeah. But what's the guy that wrote Office Space? What's his name again? Can't think of it.
Oh, what's his name from Beavis and Butthead? Mike Judge.
Yeah, Mike Judge.
Yeah.
It means he remembered that. I went, my God.
Oh,
because that was the exact phrase that was used.
Yeah.
The pet rock. Oh, come on. It made $1 million. You heard that everywhere you went. Once he made $1 million, that's all people were saying for like a year.
Oh, no,
he made $1 million.
That was the story. That probably made him $2 million because people were buying, good for him. Give me 2 of those rocks. Hey, they're in your backyard, right?
Now, I didn't buy one.
I never owned a pet rock.
Other people did.
I didn't have enough time to take care of one. Now, my sister had a pet rock one time, but she had it put down.
I should have bought one, and I should have given it to the woman that was protesting the cutting down of the force.
Yeah.
What was the name of it?
Earth First.
Give it to the Earth First lady who said, now this rock, look at what a beautiful life this rock lives.
Yeah.
I should have given it to her so she had something to take care of.
Yeah. Why don't you marry the rock? Now, if you're going to own the rock, get the one who makes a lot of money at the box office. That's the rock you should own right there, right? If you're going to invest in something. See what I did there?
It's time to end the show.
It probably is.
When you're doing Beavis saying it's time, or was that, that was Beavis. If you're doing Beavis talking about marrying a rock,
you should marry it.
We need to end the show, get some rest, and come back tomorrow. Yeah. 866-90-RED-EYE.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. We might talk about this more on another day, but we never talked about the fact that Fred Smith died.
Yeah, I was
from
just
FedEx.
about to say when we talked about the pet rock guy and innovators and people who had some kind of vision. Well, you talk about real innovators and pioneers. Fred Smith, founder of FedEx. Man, that story is an incredible story. You and I had over the years covered things that he had said, but of course the FedEx story is an incredible story.
He was asked one time, what do you think about capitalism, socialism, and communism? And he said, there's only two economic systems, market-driven and government-directed. That's it.
That's it.
He goes, if you move more towards the state-directed economy, you're less efficient and more corrupt.
Yep. There you go.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One.